are having sex usually don't fight very much.
The best sex is after 50.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Stay curious and use your sexual voice. It's power.
Laurel, welcome to The Vibrant Couple. You are a couples and sex therapist. What do your clients typically come to see you with?
Hi, Valdo. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm really excited about this topic. Couples generally come to see me because there's been some kind of disconnection in their relationship. Maybe at one point they were very connected and now they're feeling very disconnected.
What proportion of their clients feel disconnected?
60 to 70% of my clients feel that they have some kind of, and it's typically a sexual disconnection that they're feeling, but often emotional disconnection that goes along with that.
The statistics are 15 to 20% of couples are sexless, and that number goes to 25% over 50. How do the couples you see are sexless, or they still have some, genital touch to some degree, but they want more?
Yeah. So many of them, they are sexless. They haven't had sex in years. Some of them have sex. It's not very satisfying. They'd like to have better sex. And yeah, some of them just feel they have low sexual desire. We have a lot of things, some people might have medical issues or mental health issues that kind of get in the way of them having really satisfaction and pleasure in their sex life.
So I have the belief, I want to check if you have the same, that happy sex life is one of the best way to cure any of these mental problems.
Absolutely. Yeah. Couples that are having sex usually don't fight very much. They actually just, I don't know if they just don't have time or they're just so loving each other and getting pleasure.
I agree. And so before you work on helping your clients reconnect sexually, do you spend time with them to help them understand what went wrong, what somehow got in the way?
Yeah, I take a full history of both clients individually. And so we really dig into their past. Is there trauma? There could be sexual trauma that's happening. Do they have body issues? Many women over 50 have body dysmorphia, so they have shame about their bodies. Men might have erectile dysfunction, a myriad of different things as well. So I do a history, and so I'm taking all of that into consideration. Pornography is huge as well. That really is something that we don't talk about as much, I feel, that should be addressed. And so those are some of the things that I meet individually with couples.
I did a video recently, here is the link if you're interested, on basically stop porn and ask your wife for sex. So I agree, it is much more of a problem than we think.
Agreed. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so before we talk about how you work with your clients, I want to see if you're on the same page. I believe that the best sex is after 50.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. The kids are gone. We are like free. We usually have, time on our hands, a little bit more time anyway. Yes. And we've got experience going for us. We've had probably many different lovers, sometimes not, but usually. So yeah, agreed.
Wonderful. So now we have clearly stated the best sex is to come. How do you help couples reconnect sexually?
Yeah, so a little thing that some people don't really realize is that men get to emotional intimacy through sexual intimacy. Women get to sexual intimacy through emotional intimacy. So they're quite opposite. And so what I help them do is understand where they need to start building that bridge. So he needs to get to some more emotional intimacy. She needs to get to more sexual intimacy. And so
I'm hearing emotional intimacy, sexual intimacy. Why do you make that difference?
Because men, like I said, get to that place through sexual. So they feel validation if they're getting a lot of sex. Women feel the ability to get into that sexual state when they feel really emotionally connected with their man, with their husband or their partner.
So I love what I'm hearing because in my own practice, I intentionally say there is sex and there is intimacy, and we want both. But I like what you're saying about emotional intimacy and sexual intimacy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And so from our previous conversations, I understand one of the tools you use a lot is Sensate Focus.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah,
Please say
I
more.
will. Yeah. So for particularly for couples who have been, in that sort of sexless place for perhaps years, getting back to kind of being naked with each other is really intimidating. Just going into the bedroom and having sex after 2 years is nearly impossible for many of them. Their anxiety. So what we try to do with Sensate Focus is we get the performance aspect out of it. So there's actually you're not looking to have an orgasm. It's actually not that's what you don't want to have. You don't want to have an orgasm. If it happens, it happens. But the goal of Sensate Focus is really just to connect through touch. And so there's many different phases. Traditional through Masters and Johnson is a 5-phase. I break it down to 3, so it's a little quicker over about 3 weeks. And the first stage is non-genital touch. So you have a giver and a receiver. And the receiver's just laying on the bed or wherever they'd like to do it, and they're simply just receiving the touch. And it's really all about the giver experience. A lot of people think it's about the, giving pleasure to your partner, and that's a piece of it, but it's really more the giver in that experiential moment of like, what does this texture feel like? What is this, what is this, their skin temperature, their skin? If I do a little bit more pressure, what's that like? So you're really enjoying that process of just touch, non-genital touch. Then we go to phase 2 and you add genital touch with it. So if I kind of touch her clit a little bit harder, a little bit softer, am I kind of more playful? What's that kind of like? And so then the third phase is actually getting into penetration. Fingers, penises, whatever we want to penetrate with. And so we're doing a penetration. Again, no orgasm though. That's not the goal of this. The goal of this is just to feel the experience. And again, if you have an orgasm, I'm not going to get mad, but it's not the goal of this exercise. The goal is really just to experience pleasure and a good feeling between the two of you and building that intimacy.
I'm loving what I'm hearing. And I want to come back to a word that I heard you say about 30 seconds ago is penetration with a finger or a penis or whatever. From men's experience, their penis is way above whatever. And so how do you create that playful exploration that invites him to learn to be him there for his woman, for his pleasure, for her pleasure, and not just about his cock and eventual ejaculation?
Yeah, so I think that, with using our fingers for Sensate Focus, I think we're going to get used to using our fingers. So hopefully that's the exploration, that's the curiosity. So it's touch, and then you're touching here, and then you're touching here, and maybe inserting. That's phase 3 is all about that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that would just be for them to be able to experience like, oh, using a finger is okay. It's good for me, and it seems like it's pretty good for her. Yeah.
Do you invite them to different senses than just touch?
Yeah, so I try to incorporate the 5 senses when I have folks do this. Often I'll invite them to use props. So I want them to use smell, taste, touch, hearing, and visual. And so I would maybe have them do a candle, and that might be the smell and the visual, could be like dimmer lights. I might have them use a feather. I had a couple once that used the feather, and then she turned it around and used the quill part of it, and she was like, ooh, this is a little bit rough on him, but how does he like it? And he was kind of enjoying that little pain and pleasure place, and then chocolate, you could run chocolate around somebody's lips for the kind of taste part. So I just have them play. It's a playful exercise, and it's really meant to kind of let that anxiety go, let that pressure go, let that performance go, just be in the moment with each other.
How much of your work is about reawakening her to her own pleasure, to her learning to find her pleasure, to her teaching him, inviting him to pleasure how she likes to be pleasured?
So I think that's really important. A lot of women have learned, either through society. I have a lot of women who are recovering from religious backgrounds where they're not supposed to feel pleasure. It's all about the man. And so I teach them to actually just be alone with themselves and learn what they enjoy, what they like. Maybe they want to use a vibrator, maybe they want to use their fingers, maybe they want to use whatever, water, which is really lovely. So I invite women to get to know their bodies. And once they're kind of feeling like, okay, I know what I like, then inviting their man, kind of taking their hand and guiding their hand to like, this is what I like, and kind of guiding them to their pleasure and what they enjoy. So that's one of the exercises that I do with women individually.
How difficult do you find it to somehow free women from all that conditioning and trauma? Because let's be realistic, almost every woman has had really bad lovers, or wanted and unwanted. How do you help them free, and how quickly does that freedom happen?
That's a great question. Typically, a lot of the couples that I see are also in individual therapy as well, which is very helpful. So sometimes something might come up in a couples session that I'll say to them, ooh, this is a really good thing to take to your individual therapist. I do work a lot with women that have body dysmorphia, so a lot of body shame, where they might have, older 50, 60-year-olds, kind of their bodies changed, not feeling good about it. And yes, a lot of trauma, a lot of childhood trauma. We work through, sometimes I'll break out a session with just them alone too, if they're not in individual therapy, and kind of work through that. Like, what's the story that they tell themselves about that? What's their narrative around that? And how are they able to come to a place of healing around that? And it's really helpful to have the partner as part of that too, so they understand,
And so I want to hone that on the have the partner be part of that. One of the things I teach men is that they are an essential ingredient in being somehow the penetrative agent to somehow clear all these baggage that women have received. What is your view on that?
Yeah, I think if men are willing and capable and able to kind of really step out of their, get into their vulnerability, maybe get into a place that's, really foreign to them. Like, okay, I've got to really be there for her. Maybe she is, in a moment of crying or feeling whatever. But for them to really understand, to get to more of that compassionate place of like, okay, I can see how this is affecting us sexually, and it's not about me, it's about her, to really kind of get to that awareness.
So it seems like you also teach men how to become the container for her and her expression.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And so if there would be one word, maybe two, that you really want your clients to come out of the weeks or months they basically work with you to rekindle with the sexual intimacy and emotional intimacy they both crave, what would be these one or two words?
I would say stay curious. Yeah, in every aspect, not just the bedroom. You're in a conflict. You want to see the other person. You don't know the other person has a side. They've got their perception of what happened. Stay curious, just always in everything that you do. In the bedroom, stay curious. Try different things. Surprise them with a new position. Oh my gosh, they love that. Like, where'd you get that from? Go to a sex shop and get something that's kinky, that's really out of your comfort zone. Stay curious and push beyond the comfort zone that we all have. I think what I would also say. And get connected. Just get connected.
Wonderful. I'm working mainly with men, and I did recently a video for men, inviting them to understand that women gets bored 9 times quicker than men in the bedroom. If you're interested in the link, I'll put the link up there. And so sounds like you're inviting women to basically speak up about what they want, that they want a lot more.
Yeah, have a voice, use it. Absolutely. Have your, get your sexual voice and use your sexual voice. It's power. And I think we are so afraid of our power in so many ways, and we've got it, So
if you're a woman watching this video, you speaking up is the number one thing that men want. They may not be ready for it, they may not know how to receive you, but you learning to speak up is what men really want and what will invite them to basically build a container to be there for you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so how long do couples typically work with you? How long does it take for them to go from disconnect and likely not have had sex for a while to a vibrant, alive connection and sex life?
The ultimate would be 8 to 10 weeks, but I will tell you, Valdo, that I do have some clients that I've been seeing for the last year. So it really depends. I also sometimes will see people get better, and then we might have something that's a resistance or barrier that sets them back a little bit. So it's really, the trajectory is so different for every person. The goal is 8 to 10 weeks to be able to, but it really depends again on, if they are not having sex, haven't had sex in years and years, that may take a little bit longer then.
The way I see connection is it's like waves of the ocean. We connect, we disconnect, we reconnect, we disconnect. And basically, the key is to learn to navigate those waves.
I love that. I talk about waves and navigating waves a lot. Yes, absolutely. Love that.
Well, Laurel, thank you so much for our conversation. I hope it serves many, many couples to reignite that really critical part of the human experience, which is basically sexual intimacy.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, Valdo. Appreciated it.
If this video inspired you to liberate more love in your couple through disconnection and reconnection, or if this video inspired you to look for a partner with whom you will be practicing intentional connection, please hit the like button below and subscribe so you can be notified when I publish new juicy content. And please share with all you believe would benefit, even if that is uncomfortable. I look forward to seeing you very soon.